Hello guys and welcome back to Excel Chair Academy. Yes, so we have got another tough question for you guys for practice and today's question is really very interesting. So आज का question है हमारा, does tight binding between enzyme and its substrate imply rapid catalysis of the reaction? So guys, in short आपसे ये पूछा जा रहा है that tight binding अच्छा है or like weak binding. So you need to talk about like what this binding means, tight binding or weak binding between the enzyme and substrate. What does it mean? Okay, now take your time guys and think about it and then you can listen to the video. So if a substrate is there to bind without any significant transformation, so you know that there are cases where the substrate undergoes conformational change, reaches its transition state. अगर ऐसा कुछ नहीं करना है, ठीक है? So if a substrate is going to bind without any significant transformation of the binding energy into the distortion strain, ठीक है? तो क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे? Without undergoing any transformation change. Okay, so without any transformation change, it is going transformation of the binding energy into a distortion strain. Agar nahi hai, then we can say that the binding is going to be the tight one. ठीक है? So पूरी की पूरी energy जो है आपके पास है, because that energy is not being utilized in straining the substrate so that it can fit into the enzyme and all. ऐसा नहीं कुछ किया है, ठीक है? But this would not necessarily mean that your delta G is altered by the binding interactions. Okay, so however, if some of the free energy of the, now this is a free energy, if some of this free energy of the binding we use to distort the substrate so that it can reach, so that the substrate can reach its transition state, okay, or to distort the enzyme so that they can become complementary to each other, the enzyme substrate आपका complex बन सके. Okay, then the binding of the enzyme to the substrate is known as to be the weak interactions. ठीक है? Because maximum energy, the free energy has been taken in order to distort the shape of the enzyme and substrate in order so that they can have the interactions, that they can reach the transition state. तो इसलिए उसे हम बोलेंगे weak interactions. Hence, it is important to dispel a common belief. So tight binding of the substrate is not necessary useful in enhancing the rate of a enzyme reaction. Guys, I hope आपको समझ में आया यहाँ पे हम क्या कहना चाहते हैं. So let me just make it more clear. You need to talk about with respect to delta G. ठीक है? Now suppose delta G, the free energy is not used to distort your substrate or enzyme, यानी कि यहाँ पे transition state में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. Then it is tight binding, or in other words, the strong binding. If delta G, the free energy, was used to reach the transition state, okay, reach the transition state, that is by changing the conformation of the substrate and the enzyme, then the interaction is known as weak interactions. Okay, so I hope guys this is clear to you. There's one figure which I would like to show you. So look at in this figure, so you can see over here the graph also. So in the first case, what do we see here? That you have got the enzyme and the substrate, and the delta G is not being used in order to change the shape of the structure. So what is happening? This is known as your tight interactions. Okay. Now in the other case, in the other scenario, especially in the case of enzyme, what do we see is that every time the delta G was being used in order to change the structure of the or the conformational change of the enzyme structure. So here you can see, जैसे जैसे आपका enzyme structure change हुआ है, your substrate structure is also changing. So what do we see? In order to reach the transition state, the delta G was used, and hence this is going to be the weak one. Okay, so this is just a very beautiful example, and you can also explain. This is very simple diagram also, with which you can explain to your interview panel people. So guys, I hope this was clear to everyone, and कुछ भी डाउट है और अगर आपसे कोई ऐसा सवाल पूछा गया है आपके इंटरव्यू में which you think that you have not said properly, or you have not done the justice to the questions asked, so please let us know these questions through comments, or you can mail me at excelsioracademy1220@gmail.com. So definitely we are going to discuss your question through this platform. So thank you guys for watching this video, and keep studying.